placed central catheters. And this is an important aspect of neonatology. Those who don't have the facility or the fortunate who are not fortunate to have the bedside echoes may have to wait for the bedside X-ray. And as you know, that is a little long process. The technician has to come, has to be able to take the X-ray, and then we have to do the confirmation. But ultrasound, and that too, it's all in 2D only. Whereas echo or ultrasound is a very point of care method of immediately knowing where the position of the catheters or the tubes are. And so it's a very boon for the person who's skilled in using this technology. And so that is what we are planning to convey to everyone in this particular session. And I welcome our today's speaker, Dr. Prashant, who's going to continue today's class also on this particular topic. And I hope you all will be benefited. Now, without much delay, I'll hand over to Dr. Prashant, sir.
Yeah.
Prashant, sir, go ahead, sir.
So once again, thank you, Kamal sir, for the opportunity, and for thank you for NNF Tamil Nadu. So today is an interesting topic, which is a very simple one, but yet very useful.
Very useful.
Of situations where we don't have to wait, as sir rightly said, you don't have to wait for X-ray, but even in X-ray also there are a lot of pitfalls where you're not sure that you are actually placed it in the right location. So definitely the ultrasound will give you a exact picture, because you can see that particular point of where we are supposed to place in different views and confirm. I always told you that whenever you hold a probe, you should always confirm any finding in two different planes. So same formula applies over here. So this today's talk I would like to dedicate to Dr. Daniel Lincolnston and my mentor, Dr. Dinakar sir. That is Daniel Lincolnston. He is the father of ultrasound lung and point of care ultrasound, who has done enormous work in ultrasound lung, point of care ultrasound lung. So I got an opportunity to meet him in his hospital in Paris. So he has done tremendous job. So this talk I want to dedicate to him and my mentor Dinakar sir, who actually taught me and ignited me the interest of ultrasound in me, and which made me buy an ultrasound machine because of him, because of his inspiration and motivation. So requirement of ultrasound guided intubation, you need to have a clear ultrasound anatomy. Always anatomy is something which is very important when it comes to ultrasound. You need to have a basic knowledge about ultrasound and linear high frequency probe, because you are trying to see the near structures. That's why you need to have high frequency probe. And if it is linear, you can see a full length of the neck. So this is how you place it. Place the probe gently. Place the probe gently across the neck. I preferably do it placing it first on the suprasternal area, suprasternal notch, and gently place it and try to hold the baby and slightly extend it. Please be very careful, because baby cervical spine are very fragile and any jerky movements can fracture or affect the cervical spine. So very gentle, and the pointer should be placed on the right shoulder of the baby. This is how you place the probe. Now, these are the images which we have got.
The esophagus. And you can
so
see
this I will show you again. Nothing to worry. So this is what I am showing. 1 second. Let me take a pen. Yeah. This. Let me pause it. Yeah. So this is the image, which is both color I have put, and I have put the 2-dimension image. So you can see here, this is your skin. This is your skin. Then you have something in between. Can anybody unmute and tell me what exactly is this structure? See, this is skin. Correct?
Right.
What is below skin? What is below skin?
It is fat.
Sorry? Fat. thin layer of fat. Below that you have two lines here. Can you say here? 1 point here and 1 point here. So there is one thin sheet of muscle. This is the thinnest muscle in the body. What is it? Which attaches from the border of the to the clavicle. Thin sheet of muscle.
Trapezius. Trapezius.
Exactly. Yes. This is your latissimus muscle. Then you are seeing something here like this. Yeah, this is your, what is it? This is your trachea. So you can see tracheal rings reverberation artifacts. And then you have cometal appearance. There is complete blackout here. Okay, so you can see something here next to trachea. What is this? We have put the probe in suprasternal area, little above the suprasternal area. What do you get? What is this? Sorry?
Thyroid gland.
Exactly. This is your thyroid gland. I will explain you just to give you a brief feel about the ultrasound, what we are doing, because we should not just do only theory. It should be clinical application should be there. So there is trachea, there is thyroid gland, and you can see some structure here. What is this? Beyond trachea. What do you get beyond trachea? What is the right beyond trachea? That's your esophagus. Part of esophagus you can see. Like how it won't be exactly beyond the esophagus, it will be right or left side. You can see partly over here. This is your esophagus. So your esophagus, your trachea, your thyroid gland and cartilage, we call it as what compartment? This is your visceral compartment. So we divide ultrasound anatomy into, okay, so this is your visceral compartment. That is your visceral compartment. I'll make it very, very easy because once you know, it becomes very easy. So this is your visceral compartment. Okay. So here I put color. What is it? What is this? So in the neck on either side, you have the next thing we are talking about is your vascular compartment. What is this vein? What is the vein you are seeing?
Jugular vein.
Exactly. IgV. So you have, this is your jugular vein. Then you get your, that also I'll show you. One artery you get, what is it?
Carotid artery.
Exactly. And you get one, you can see one structure here, white color structure. Can you see here?
Yes.
What is this? What is there in the vascular sheath? Can anybody tell me? What is there along with your vein, jugular vein?
Vagus now.
Sorry, which one?
Vagus.
Exactly, that's your vagus nerve. So this is your vascular compartment. So we completed visceral compartment, we completed vascular compartment. Next left is your muscular compartment. Anterior muscles, your posterior muscles, infrared muscles, suprared muscles, like that you divide it. So I will show you that also in the coming slide. So you got a brief idea about ultrasound anatomy. Clear? What we are seeing here is a text shadow in my now it's better. your central compartment is the linear probe, marker facing on the right side of the baby. Then okay. Yeah. Move on to the next. Now we will I'll give you. So this is your skin. This is your platysma muscle. Okay, you can see something here. Can anybody tell me what exactly is this? Can anyone tell me what is this?
Muscles. Sternocleidomastoid.
Yeah. So you can see here your trachea, reverberation, then your cometal appearance. The vascular compartment here. This is your esophagus. This is your spleen. This is your esophagus muscle. Now I'll give you an external anatomy. Yeah. This is your iliac bone, what you feel here. Then you are seeing this structure. One second, I'll go with yeah. I should go with arrow. Okay. Yeah. This is the anatomy. You can see how the thyroid cartilage is moving. The yellow color structure is your from bottom tracheal rings, white, gray white. Then you have yellow color, that is your cricoid cartilage, which is one full circle. Then you have a bigger thyroid cartilage. What you're seeing is an epiglottis, which is attached to the anterior aspect of the vocal cord. See how it moves. So when you are intubating, you manipulate that way, where you try to elevate the epiglottis and see the vocal cord and then put the tube inside. So this is how you do it. Now we are seeing from the superior surface. This is your epiglottis, like how you intubate. You see the vocal cord, and on the posterior aspect of the vocal cord, there are cartilage, that is your arytenoid cartilage, and on the top you get uniform and corniculate cartilage, tiny ones. See, you can see a one full ring. Your cricoid cartilage is a one full ring. Thyroid cartilage is a half ring. So it's like a V-shaped structure. You can see cuneiform cartilage and corniculate. So epiglottis, arytenoid cartilage, cuneiform cartilage, and you can see the vocal cord now, which will move. That also can be observed in your ultrasound. The phonation in adults it is very clear. In babies also you can see this movement of your vocal cord. So when you take this section at the level of thyroid cartilage, you get a V-shaped structure. The thyroid cartilage will look like a V or a U, horseshoe. You can see here. Can you make out now? See, this is your thyroid cartilage is your horseshoe shape. All right. So now, yeah. So this is the external anatomy from inside, how it looks. You saw the epiglottis. This is your epiglottis, which is marked. 1 second, I'll show you. So this is your epiglottis. You have seen. Then you have lifted the epiglottis. Then you have your vocal cord. Then you have your on adjacent to that piriform fossa, if any foreign body and all you will see here. Anyway, newborn it is not this thing. Then you have arytenoid cartilage, corniculate cartilage, and this is true vocal cord. This will be your false vocal cord. This part. Okay. We'll move on to the next slide. So the use of auscultation to distinguish between tracheal and bronchial intubation has been very, very unreliable. We know that. For one person, if his hearing is proper, it will, or if he has some issue with hearing, he will tell no, tube is too deep. And somebody will tell no, tube is all right. So you will be wasting time. So it is there, not there. For that, ultrasound is accurate. So this is how you place the probe. First, you place it above the suprasternal area, and then you swipe it upwards. That means caudal to cranial, you have to move towards the neck. From lower, at the level of suprasternal notch, you place the probe, and then you start swiping up towards the area, towards the neck. So if you take a structure, as I said, this is your skin. Then you have thin strap of muscle. It's your which is enveloped by your superficial fascia. This is your sternocleidomastoid. So this is your trachea. This is your trachea. How it looks. So this is your air and mucosal interface. Air and mucosal interface. This part I'm talking about. So this one. And then you start seeing the reverberation artifact. Start seeing all these A lines here. And then a shadow. This shadow is called comet tail appearance. So below, ultrasound won't travel in air. That's why everything is blacked out. Then if you move little on the lateral side, you get your vascular compartment. That is your carotid artery, jugular vein, and vagus nerve. So now we have taken at the level of cricoid cartilage. You can see cricoid cartilage. 1 second. Okay. So this is your cricoid cartilage, how it looks. It's an oval shaped structure which is thicker than the tracheal rings. So I'll show you the previous one. This is your tracheal cartilage. This is your, you can see the difference. It is thin tracheal cartilage, whereas cricoid cartilage is little thicker than your tracheal cartilage. Shape, and then you see reverberation. So this is how you differentiate cricoid level versus the tracheal level. Now, cricoid thyroid membrane in transverse view. In cricothyroid membrane, you see this interface, and then you see all whitish thing. This part, you can see this part. This is your cricothyroid membrane and reverberation below. So you can, an ultrasound you can make out. Why I'm telling this is, Suppose if an emergency tracheostomy has to be done, you can use your ultrasound and you can do that by knowing the ultrasound anatomy. That also, if you want to place a tube in emergency, you can do that as well. Now this is at the level of thyroid cartilage. I told you it's almost V-shaped or horseshoe-shaped structure. This is your stomach lidomastoid, thyroid cartilage, and then you can see here this part. Here. This is your true vocal cord, false vocal cord. Then this is your arytenoid cartilage. Okay, so this is at the level of thyroid cartilage. So you see thyroid gland little above the suprasternal area. Then you have your cricoid cartilage. Then cricothyroid membrane. From below up I am coming. Then thyroid cartilage. Then iod bone. So this is the longitudinal view. See, I'll show you something. This part will have a mirror image like this. Longitudinal thing. I'll have a video. I'll show that to it. Yeah. So you can see here. This is your cricoid cartilage. You can see the mirror image of that. Then you start seeing all your tracheal rings as a beads, like a pearl beads. This is your cricothyroid membrane. This is your thyroid cartilage. Clear? Next, we'll move on to the next video. When you put a place a probe, how it looks. This is your visceral compartment, your trachea. You will have esophagus here. This is your vascular compartment. Two dots on either side is your vascular compartment. Now you can see we have placed, so you get a comet tail appearance below the trachea, once area is there. Suppose if you have placed the, if you have put the tube in the esophagus, you will have like this, which I'll show you again in the upcoming videos. See here. This is one comet tail, what you're seeing. Suppose if you have esophagus, if you see two comet tail like this. So here also you see, and here also you see. This is how it looks, which I have video, I'll show it to you. Now, endotracheal versus endotracheal versus endobronchial versus esophageal. So you have to do a tracheal ultrasound. Single comet tail, if it is there, then it is in trachea. Double comet tail, then it goes in favor of esophageal intervention. Plus lung ultrasound you have to do, see for bilateral lung sliding and the lung pulse. So this is what I was talking about. Sorry. Yeah, so you have placed the probe here, then you get one single tail. This is your single comet tail, how it looks, the entire thing. See, this is your comet tail, which we have tried to show. Single comet tail. Suppose if it's in esophagus, you can see here, this is your double comet tail side. Yeah. Now coming to the lung sliding. So right and left, we have to check for the lung sliding. So in lung sliding, what happens? So when air enters, pitfalls I'm telling, at times you might get the air moving back on the left side of the lung and causing lung sliding might be seen, but you have to compare the how beautifully the lung slides on either side. So you can see on one side the lung sliding is really good compared to the other side. There might be some amount of lung sliding also seen, but you have to uh, try to see in other areas also, lung sliding areas, and you can go with, you can check for the lung pulse if it is, if the lung is not ventilated. You can see the lung pulse also, which we'll be taking in ultrasound lung classes. That is the next class that we'll be taking. So this is how it looks. Your lung sliding, where as if your hands are moving. Okay. So positive lung sliding, absence of lung sliding. I'll play the video now. You can see, and I'll put a Doppler. So if you have doubt in lung sliding, put a Doppler and see. When you put a Doppler, I'll explain you. So I put a Doppler in the first image. So where I have, M mode I have taken. So we can see, 1 second. See, this is your pleura. Okay. This is your muscles, skin, and everything. So below this is your lung parenchyma. So when lung, so this is called sea. This is sand or shore. So if lung sliding is there, if it's moving properly, you see sea and shore appearance. Suppose if lung sliding is not there, you can see the pleura. Only sea will be there, only water. See, only sea is there. There is loss of, it's called barcode sign. Loss of shore will be there. So if you go with M mode, you can actually see this. Now, lung ultrasound, endotracheal, endobronchial, and esophagus. Lung slide, which I was talking about, this is your pleural line. This is your parenchyma. This is your above pleural structures. You see sea and shore appearance. Whereas if it is no lung sliding, you get this barcode appearance to show the sand is lost. So you can see here, this part is lost. You only see the above part here. That is called the barcode sign. This also you need to see, not just seeing the tube in the trachea with single comet tail. You have to check for the bilateral lung sliding also, and you have to go with not just with the transverse section, you have to go with your longitudinal section, and you have to get the arch view and see the distance from arch of aorta to the ET tube, which I will show you. So no lung sliding, barcode sign, which we were talking about. This is about the lung pulse, which I'll take you in ultrasound lung class. So in intubation, if it is in trachea, you get single comet tail and bilateral lung sliding present. If it's in endobronchial, you get single comet tail, but unilateral absence of lung slide will be there. If it is in esophagus, you get double comet sign plus absence of lung sliding and presence of lung pulse will be there. So if air is not there in the lung, so what is lung pulse? From the heartbeat, with every heartbeat, you see the pulse here. You see this. See, you can see here. That is what we have marked here. So if air is not there, it easily gets conducted from the heart to the lung. So you start getting the lung pulse when lung is not ventilated. If its lung is adequately ventilated, you don't see that because it takes air will interfere in transmission of the lung pulse vibrations. Now, yeah. So we are trying to place the probe. Look at the green color marker, which is placed on the right side of the shoulder of the baby. And then we go with, see, this is what I was talking about. 1 second. this is your visceral compartment. This is your vascular compartment. Then rest all is all your muscular compartment. This is spine muscles. This is your trapezius and your spinal muscle. And this is your sternocleidomastoid muscles. So I hope the anatomy is clear. Yeah. This is all. Sorry, just yeah. So you can see now this is your trachea, this is your esophagus, which I've marked adjacent to the either it can be on right or left side esophagus. You have to first identify. Then we try to put the tube, and we see how the trachea expands. See, now we have put it in the two comet sinus. That's in esophagus we have put. Again, we'll put it again. You can see there, that is esophagus, that is trachea. See, two comet tail has appeared now. That means you have intubated into the esophagus, double comet tails. So now if you remove from there, see, you can see now two comet tail. Now we try to put it in the trachea. See, tracheal movement is there, but esophagus, there is only single comet tail. Esophagus is not moving, just the trachea is moving when you put the tube in the trachea, when you take a transverse section. Clear? So transverse and longitudinal image of ETT in trachea, how it looks. ETT looks like a tram track appearance or double track, you can see. Two hyperechoic lines, which is called as double track sign, you can see here. So if you take this, longitudinal parasagittal view, exactly, you'll get this. So now we are taking a longitudinal view, how it looks in longitudinal. So this is the thyroid cartilage, cricothyroid membrane. Blue color is cricoid cartilage. 1 second. See, you can see a mirror shadow of your cricoid cartilage, and thyroid cartilage shape. You can see how it looks. Tracheal rings is like a string, pearl strings. You see here, and you can see that orange line, how it is elevated. So when you on longitudinal view, you have to identify the cricoid cartilage, your thyroid cartilage, and your tracheal rings, and you have to follow your ET tube. That you get it parasagittal section if you take. Now let us go and intubate and see simultaneously with ultrasound. So you are seeing trachea now. So now we are trying to put it in the esophagus. Can you see now? Yes. See, in esophagus you get two track. Now remove, put it in the trachea. So you can see in trachea there's only single comet tail. You can see trachea, inside trachea it's moving. That's how. So, 1 second. Get back to. Okay. Video laryngoscope view with ultrasound. Simultaneously, you can place a probe, somebody can intubate, and you can see. I've placed it in the esophagus. So double track sign has come. And we've removed it, put it inside the trachea. You can see inside trachea there is a tracheal movement. 1 second, let me. Okay. Okay. So now this is ET tube in trachea, and you can see even NG tube also in esophagus. This is your NG tube. That also can confuse you, but first you identify, that's the most important thing, and then you follow it up. You can see here. This is your trachea. So if you put it in esophagus, then you have something like this. Total. So now I'll show you something. Two videos are there. Now first video. Can anybody tell me in first video where we have placed the probe? Can anybody tell me where we have placed the probe?
Thyroid cartilage.
Exactly. Can you tell me what is this?
Also vocal cords.
Yes, that's your vocal cord. Very good. This is your, what cartilage is this? Arytenoid cartilage.
Cornea.
Yeah, arytenoid cartilage. Okay, so this is how it looks. Now move on to the next one. So this way we have, you can see the movement of the vocal cord now. I'll play it again. I've placed it little above. See, you can see the movement. Good. So now coming to the, I'm sure transfer section, it is very clear how it looks in ultrasound. And when it signal section, how to identify record cut, how to follow the tracheal tip. So coming to the tracheal tip, from here, from here till this is your ET tube. Okay. This is your ET tube. So from ET tip till the upper border of this, it should be 1 centimeter, 0.5 to 1 centimeter. If you keep that much distance, that means your tube is in place. Suppose if it is less than that here, less than 0.5, that means your tube is too deep. So you can see on the lower border of arch of aorta, the trachea is getting bifurcated. But in parasagittal view, you can see the bifurcation also, and you can see the air coming, bubbling also. So where to place in arch view, if you go, you have to place it at the upper surface of the arch. Till tube, it should be 0.5 to 1 centimeter, you can keep. See in this, you can see, can anybody tell me the tube is deep, not deep with X-ray? You can see the ET tube. This is your ET tube. So now you tell me.
The reports you have visited.
Sorry?
It's deep.
Okay. 1 second. So if you go with, yeah, you have to check for the tip, and you have to check for your distance. So it should be 1 centimeter. You can see here, taken one here. It's a ET tube. This is your gastric tube, and you have your arch of aorta. I'm sure you all can appreciate. You have to check for the distance. This is on your check. So now we'll move on to the next. So ET tube, you know where to place the ET tube, how to follow the ET tube, what is the anatomy of the neck, What are the basic ultrasound anatomy we need to look for? We have discussed in detail. Now moving on to the next one. Can anybody tell me what is the normal level of insertion of UVC? Please unmute and tell me. Which option is correct? Is it option 1 which is correct, option 2, option 3, option 4, option 5? Which one is correct?
What level of diaphragm?
Okay. Anyone else has got any other opinion?
Atrial
Atrial junction. Okay. Next.
Above, below is just X-ray.
Above diaphragm. Okay. Next.
That will be X-ray only.
Yeah. Actually,
All of the above.
all of the above, but atriocaval junction is the ideal place. If you're placing through ultrasound, you can place it here. But all of the above is also correct. What is the normal level insertion of UAC? Please tell me which option is correct. Before we move on, yeah, tell me which option is correct.
T6 to 9.
6 to 9. Okay, one option. Why do you think 6 to 9 is correct? Why can't it be L3 to L5? Or why can't it be both? Or why can't it be none of the above? See, you have your, arch of aorta, descending arch of aorta, abdominal aorta, and then bifurcation. So we are telling at L3, and then we are just leaving T9 to L2. Why? What is there in T9 to L2? What is there from T10? If you go to L2, what is there? Can anybody tell me the abdominal aorta main branches? There are 3 main branches.
Celiac axis, superior.
Yeah. Where does the celiac trunk sits?
Celiac trunk, superior mesenteric.
Superior mesenteric and inferior mesenteric, correct? So celiac trunk at what level it is at?
T10.
Then superior mesenteric artery?
T12.
Your inferior mesenteric artery?
In L1.
And then your left renal. So you have your vital vessels in this particular thing. So you can't place your UAC here and block the thing. It will affect the entire circulation of that main artery supplying the specific parts of the abdomen. So this should be kept free. So either you can keep it below here, that is called low-lying UAC, or high-lying UAC. So that you have bypassed all the things and you have placed it here. So both 1 and 2 is correct. So I hope you got the reason why we are not placing it between T10 to L2, because of vital branches which are coming out from abdominal aorta. There's no point in placing there. Now, where is the catheter? You can see 2 catheters. There is one catheter tip seen here and another catheter tip seen here. You can see. So where is it? It is not properly placed. So your arterial catheter is too deep. EC is too low, correct?
Not UVC, it is UVC.
EC is too high.
Subclavian artery it has gone, see that.
Yeah, and portal vein.
High is in subclavian only.
Yeah, can you see UAC where it has gone? It has gone into your left ventricle.
It can go to subclavian.
Left ventricle. So you can see it's come here. So it is too deep. Now, where is the UAC? See, you can see one tip here. There are all curled up here. Plus, what does this abdomen picture give you a sign of? What is this all? There are multiple static particles.
Hematosis intestines.
Features of NEC basically. So it has got folded in the abdominal aorta with features of NEC. Now you can see here, it's gone here. And you can see your other UAC tip gone here. It's in portal UVC and deep UVC. So umbilical catheter, you need to get an idea about normal anatomy, physiology, uses, aberrant positions, and exam. If you're placing an umbilical vein, you start from umbilicus, identify umbilical vein, then you push it to left portal vein, ductus venosus, and your ultimate aim is atriocaval junction, that is your inferior vena cava. Tip should be in cavo-atrial junction, that is the junction of IVC and right atrium junction. Malposition, any other position, if it is gone into the left atrium or any above or below, it is all wrong turns above, below, these are all your malpositions. So if you take umbilicus, if you put, you are placing it, umbilical vein you are going, portal vein you are going, ductus venosus, and then into the inferior vena cava. So this is your diaphragm. So it should be above that, and ideally keep it in atriocaval junction. This is another view, your umbilical vein, left portal vein, ductus venosus, and then inferior vena cava. So basically, the diaphragm will come here. So placement of venous catheter with bedside ultrasound. So they have done a study on way back in 1995. This use of role of ultrasound has been there from 1970 onwards. So it's very long history. So you can see in T9 they found out that it's in 100% correctly placed position. So problem is it can be not too low or not too deep enough or too deep enough. These are the problems what you will see, which I'm not going to talk. So how do you check? You go with your standard views, your subcostal view, parasternal short axis view, and apical four-chamber view, and parasternal short axis towards the xiphoid. So you cannot just place one probe and say that yes, it is in position. You have to look at different planes, so that you are more accurate and more precise, more perfection in terms of understanding the position. So this is what we are talking about. You have your atriocaval junction. This is your ductus venosus, the hepatic vein you can see here, and this is your heart junction. This is the target zone which we were talking about. Atriocaval junction. Your tip should be placed here. So you can see in the picture, this is your catheter, which is placed here. So if you have to push it little here, it will be perfect position. Here. This part is the target zone. This particular part. So, this is in subcostal view. So now I'm going to play a video. So how it looks. So you please see the the target zone which I was talking about. You can see in the arrow which is going, that is your atriocaval junction. So the way you want to place it, you can see in the middle ultrasound, the catheter tip is still it has not reached the target zone. We are trying to, now it's going in. Trying to push it here. This is the target zone, which I'm showing in the arrow. That is your subcostal view. Now, real time. So we are placing the catheter and we are trying to see. Can you see on your screen where 2 is marked? Catheter will start coming from there. You can see. So you can see now catheter coming in at 2 to 4 on the ultrasound. You can see 2 there. Yeah. So we're trying to push the catheter. Portal.
Not visible, sir.
Sorry?
The screen is not visible. I don't know what happened.
Screen is not visible.
Yeah.
It's coming? Yeah. I think it's coming for all, sir.
Oh.
Yeah. So we have pushed the catheter into the right atriocaval junction. We have pushed, I think we have pushed little deep. Can you appreciate 2 line, catheter line? Now it is at the level of 4.
Yes.
Yeah. So now we have pushed little inside the heart into the right atrium. So we have to pull it back. See, I'm pulling it back now. Pulling it back. Yes, yes, yes. So now this is how in real time you can actually place the catheter. So once you have placed it, and then you can push little bit of saline, and you can see that saline moving in. So that also can be seen. So see, now I've tried to push it back. Yeah. Yes, I'm trying to keep it at the atriocaval junction. So you can see here, this is what we are talking about, the target zone. Now, parasternal short axis view. You can see how we have placed the probe, and then we have taken ultrasound image. We are trying to confirm whether the position is proper or not. This is a different baby. That was a different baby, the previous video. I'm just trying to show you. These are the parts where, your tricuspid wall, right atrium, interatrial septum, and left atrium. And in the center, you have your coronary arteries and aortic aorta. See, we are trying to push the catheter now. See how it has gone. I'm trying to push into the right atrium. 1 second. See, we are trying to push the catheter now. Read it again. Then those are the structures. Yeah, trying to see. So it should be placed in just at the junction before the right atrium. So even in parasternal short axis also you can make out. Apical 4-chamber views. Place your probe and try to look at 4 chambers and try to see the ultrasound thing, that where it is placed. Sometimes if it has gone deep into the right atrium or through the foramen ovale, if it has gone into the left atrium, you can actually visualize that. Take a Apical 4-chamber view. Yeah, I'm playing now. You can see a catheter. It has gone into the left atrium. 2 lines between right atrium and left atrium. It has gone over there. So you have to pull it backwards. You have to pull it backwards. It is too deep. So probe marker on the left side of the baby. Now umbilical artery catheterization. So you have your umbilical artery, anterior division of internal iliac artery, common iliac artery, and aorta. So you have your high position, that is T6 to T10, low position, that is your L3 to L5. So advantage, all your advantages are there, that I'm not going to talk about. So if you take an X-ray, anteriorly you get your umbilical vein catheter, posteriorly on lateral X-ray you see, posteriorly you see your arterial catheter. So this is how it goes. Anterior internal iliac artery, then common iliac artery into the abdominal aorta. So you have to see, this is what I was talking about. This part you cannot place in this part. Because the vital, your renal artery, mesenteric artery, celiac artery, inframesenteric artery, all are there. Try to place it either above or below, low line or high line. So this is how it looks like on the lateral side. This is your low line, and this is your high line. T6 to T9 and L3 to L9. Clear? So this also not too deep or too deep, and T6 to T9, L3 to L5. Not too deep, not but too deep. So now this is a 26-weeker with RDS. You can see UVC has been placed here. Can you see T9 to T10 by X-ray? So is it correct? Can anybody tell me where exactly we have placed the UVC, at what level? I have marked it over there. See, you have taken an X-ray. Now you feel that you have placed it at T9, T10. You feel, yeah, it's fine. But ideally we say that it should be above diaphragm. But someone will tell that, no, it is just below diaphragm, what to do now? So in X-ray, you are seeing only till here. Correct? So Let us do ultrasound and see where you have placed it catheter. So your parasternal short axis, you have seen catheter has gone into the right atrium. It is almost going to the atrium. So you have to pull it backwards. So in X-ray, it might deceive you, saying that you may not get the exact tip. So that's why chances of error will be there. 25 Victor with 600 gram weight with RDS, X-ray showing UAC and ES and EF. So you can see one tip is here and another tip is here. So UAC and T7 and UVC on T10. So let us see in ultrasound. So we feel in first image, you can see that it is at atriocaval junction. Parasternal short axis you have taken, and you can see the catheter going from the right atrium to left atrium. So you have to pull it backwards. So X-ray can deceive you. Next case, 30 Victor with 1.3 kg. UVC is placed at T9 to T10 by X-ray. So this is not of the same baby, but in ultrasound you can actually go with subcostal view, apical four-chamber view, parasternal short axis view, and try to get. So catheter position can lead to all the complications. This is all theory, which I'm not going to talk about. Bleeding, perforation, arrhythmia, thrombosis, infarction. So complications are big. So ultrasound guided, real time, you can see a lot of evidences which I don't have to convince you now, because you are convinced that real time seeing the picture and placing the catheter is always superior than assuming and thinking that one person thinks not to go with subjective things, go with an objective evidence. So there are several studies which are suggesting that ultrasound is far superior. If you have a machine, please use it and get accustomed to it, because that is not the future. The future has already come. Now coming to the long lines, if you're placing the PICC lines, either go with your cephalic vein you put, or you go with your basilic vein when you're placing the catheter. So where to place it? Here also, superior vena cava junction. Just above that, you can place your catheter. So this also can be confirmed real time. Also you can do, and you can actually confirm it post insertion also. This is placement of catheter based on ECG, but which I'm not going to talk about now. So this is lower limb. I've placed the probe. You can see there how I've placed the probe. Now I'll show you the image. What I've tried to get. So now we go with the pen. Okay. So what is this which we are seeing now? Can anybody tell me what I'm trying to get? What I've got the image?
Bifurcation of iliac arteries.
Yeah. So in lower limb, when you place it, you have to place it in common iliac artery here, or above the anterior division. So there you have to place. So we have to. I've shown you how to place. And you can see other interesting also. Ultrasound abdomen will take later. So placement of your upper limb at the superior vena cava junction, and in lower limb it should be in common iliac arteries. Or you can go a little up also, but make sure that you don't go too high. This is another Cadman scoring. It should be above here. Where to place it? So these are the few images where X-ray, it's like so clear how it has gone. But if your X-ray quality is not, if your X-ray quality is not good, you will not know. It's very difficult. It has gone into the carotid. Yeah. So, I think. Thank you. So before doing ultrasound, I have to have a very good patience because first attempt when we do, we will not get it. Even to get a bifurcation of iliac artery, it is sometimes very tough. We struggle a lot. So that's why keep your head calm, cool, relaxed, and keep doing. That's the only thing. Still now, I'm also learning. As Kamal sir rightly says, most of the time that we learn throughout our life. So this is the thing. I hope I made it very clear. Exactly, it looks like that. Dinakar sir, if you are there, you can add few things, sir. Dinakar sir.
Prashant, very good talk.
Anything you want to add, sir?
No, already you added everything, but we will show all these things in the video. Where I think so. Tomorrow we are getting one CCAM, congenital adenomatous malformation. One case probably might need intubation. That time next Friday we will show you how intubation, what everything live we will show. At present I have only 3 cases. All are very good cases. So I cannot show in the video.
Yeah.
But all the things, whatever you told, we should know. That's all.
Yes, sir. Kamal sir.
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, my screen went crashed. I was able to only get the audio. My video was not coming.
Okay.
But anyway, the explanation was good. The last thing I missed. Anyway, I'll try to get the recordings. That is what everyone is waiting for.
Yes, sir. Actually, if you have put your email ID and joined not as a guest but as a proper with your email ID, the recordings are already there in the chat. They can view it anytime. But they should join as a not as a guest, proper with email ID. If they join, they get all the time. It is recorded. It is there in the chat. All the recordings are there. I'll send it, sir. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. This was very useful because we have echo machines, but many times the mistake our postgraduates make is they will meticulously put the PICC line or the umbilical venous catheter, but they don't confirm the position. And when they get an X-ray, say the day after the placement, you will find the position of the tip it's terribly off. And they then in a hurried manner we'll have to remove the catheter out and then try to put another one. So this can be avoided. The catheters are quite expensive, and you use a lot of effort and time to put in these catheters. And once you do it, I think we should confirm the position only, then start the infusion. Otherwise, it's a big mistake.
It takes exactly 10 to 20 seconds, sir. I mean, if you are otherwise, it's going to take some time. But once we keep doing it quickly, we can even do real time also.
Yes, that's right. You can check the position and we are sure. And anyway, we can take an X-ray to reconfirm whatever we have done on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is a very useful lecture. So I'm sure our postgraduate have been benefited by this particular lecture. Very useful one. And I think they can go back and see the recordings again and again and get used to the pictures.
Yes,
so that it'll get impressed. It'll just get impressed in their mind. So they don't have to really struggle. They just put the catheter and look at the screen, and they'll know whether it's rightly placed or not. So it was an excellent talk, sir. Very informative.
Thank you.
I missed the screen for some time. Anyway, I hope I'll get the recordings and look at it. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Dinakar, sir. Thank you, sir. Hello.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Without your effort and your involvement, I don't think this would have been possible. In fact, everyone keeps asking me. Last time when we missed the class on Friday, there was a lot of queries saying, "Sir, is there a class today?" So because I didn't post that there is no class. Then when I got a lot of questions, then I had to post them. There was no class on October 2nd, Gandhi Jayanti. So everyone is just waiting for these classes.
No, sir. Next class we will show you live how ETT, even after intubation, after pulling outside, after pushing inside, how it looks live. We will show you in the next Friday class, sir.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. This double comment sign and all that.
And UVC also. UVC also, if it is possible, while
Yeah.
passing, how it will go to the pouch and how it will go to the directly from ductus venosus directly to the IVC junction.
IVC, yes.
Everything before going to the ductus venosus, how it will, what is called as a pouch, why it usually it will go there. Everything we will show you, sir. Next Friday we will show you
Okay, sir. Okay.
live. Thank you,
That
sir.
is that is on 9th. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Next Friday.
Yeah, I have one video, sir, that finally
Yeah.
before we leave, we can see that video.
Yeah.
So all of them can see, which I was talking about.
Now my screen is back.
Yes, sir.
I'm able to see.
So that is the trachea. And you can see a white line, that is your mucosa and ear interface. Then you have a shadow below that. So on either side, yeah, trachea also looks like in horseshoe shape. So that is the central line. So we'll try to, yeah. So you can see I've put it on little left side. You can see if you want to look at the esophagus and other structure on the parasagittal. Now I've placed it at longitudinal view. So you can see string like pulse like thing, which is, these are all tracheal rings. You can see the tissue border, and you can see below there the lining, mucosal lining inside the trachea. You can actually check the health of that trachea. Then you can see here the one which is now brightened up white. Below that you can see a mirror-like image. That is your cricoid cartilage. So this is your cricoid cartilage. These are all pearls or strings. So yeah, so this is how it looks like, sir. Anyway, next time we will try to show, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sure, sir. Yeah. All right, sir. All right.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I think that is, I think we have come to the end of this session. Very interesting one. And we are from September. We have been continuing every Tuesday without missing. Only the last Tuesday, last. And I think another four more classes are left, sir.
Yeah, for me, ultrasound lung is left. Then we have septic arthritis and ultrasound abdomen. 3 more classes from my side.
3 more classes.
Sir will continue with the echo classes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
So maybe 4.
And, 7.
Sir,
4,
totally 4 classes are left, sir.
7.
Totally
4
4
classes.
classes.
4 classes.
That's it.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to inform you, sir, that we have one state conference on 10th or 11th of this month.
One video before we leave, how it looks, the thyroid gland. So we're trying to then now cricoid. You can see the shape of the cricoid and below that. Now if you move towards the cricothyroid membrane, you have your white reverberation throughout below the cricothyroid. See, now you start seeing. So you can see reverberation, very bright reverberation. That is the cricoid membrane. Then we are trying to move upwards to thyroid cartilage. You can see a V-shaped structure which will pop up now. That is your thyroid cartilage, and then you have your vocal cords. Attachment of the vocal cords over there. Next, yeah. So this is a movement of vocal cords which I was talking about. Yeah. These are the few videos which I had. I thought I will show it. So we're trying in a longitudinal section how it looks. So cricoid cartilage, that is your cricoid cartilage which I'm showing. Then you get your thyroid cartilage, just panning it up from lower to up. It's your cricoid cartilage. Then this is your thyroid cartilage. This is your cricothyroid membrane. So actually, while if you want to confirm if you want to do tracheostomy, emergency tracheostomy, you can place the tube and you can run the pin below the probe. So this is what I'm running. And then you can actually mark the cricothyroid point, and then you can go with tracheostomy if you're doing. So that is that. I just thought I'll just show this video. All right, sir. We'll try to show the proper one in the next class. So two things. One is interim cerebral vein we need to show, that we will show. And second thing is the live intubation if possible, if kids, if we get a baby with intubated baby. So meanwhile, they can try doing it with the babies which they have in their ICU. That should be fine. Yes, sir. Come on, sir. Thank you, sir.